Black Rose.
Welcome, guys. Welcome to webinar part 3 of my webinar, which basically we're going to cover how to repay your credit. So those who tune in right now, I am live right now. This is webinar part 3. For those who missed 1 and 2, on the website, you can go there, subscribe to my website, and I can send you part 1 and 2. And you can, the beginning of the webinar, for you could catch up. So basically, this is part 3. And what we're going to be discussing today is how to repay your credit. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to repay your credit. So for anybody that tuned in and their credit is messed up, you have a huge advantage. At the end of this part of this webinar, part 3, you're going to learn the process on how to repair, rebuild, your credit. All right. So what I want you to do is relax, sit back, and let me do all the talking. If you have any questions, please wait after the webinar finish. Okay. For those who are new, you see the website that says howmoneyworks.com financial literacy group challenge. Go there, Go to that website and take the challenge. It's only 5 questions. It's to see how financially literate you are, how good you are with your money, and your investments. All right. So now what I want you to do is just relax and let's get started.
Welcome to the dark side. Black Rose.
Enjoy the music, guys. Right now I'm just setting everything up, making sure everything is straight. Okay. Hey guys, go to my website at www.icrfinancialfitness.com so you can see a huge opportunity I have for those who have a 651 credit score and or under 651 and under. All right, go there so you can see what I have. I should be starting in about 6 minutes. Looking for subscribers for my YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube page also, guys. Subscribe.
Black Rose.
Support this stream. Support your stream. Just scan the QR code so you can support this stream. Just here to help those that need help with that have financial issues, credit issues, and things like that. I've been there and don't want to be there no more. So I'm here to help you guys. So you can have the same situation that I had here had the past years. That that I had credit problems and financial issues. Not no more. So I'm just here to help you guys. So 4 more minutes left. Still got time to tune in, guys. Still got time to tune in. Still have time. Again, questions, I will be answering all your questions that you may have at the end of the webinar. Basically, this webinar is going to be 100% about how to repay your credit, rebuild your credit, increase that credit score 100 points or more in less than a year. That's what the webinar is going to be about. Part 3 of my webinar. my Facebook friends, if you watching this, send me a message. Send me a message. Send me a message on my Facebook. Send me comments. All right, guys. Okay, we're gonna start in a couple of more minutes. Still got time to register. Still got time to register. Still got time to tune in. In a couple of seconds, we're gonna get started, guys. I'm just setting everything up. That way, everything is all set up. Make sure that you have a notebook and a pen for you to write on all the important topics that I'm gonna be explaining to you guys today. So stay. Alrighty, guys. Let's get started. The secret history of credit video. What I want you to do is watch this entire video so you can learn about the secrets of credit cards. How these credit card companies screw you off your money. Sorry to say of my language, but it's true. How they kick up the interest rate without you even knowing. How you pay more on your credit card than ever before. And you're gonna see the reason why. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video.
Tonight on Frontline, the average American family has 0% for life on transfer balances. Credit cards, plastic money, have become both a necessity and a ticket to a better life.
Hawaii! A credit card is an extraordinary, unbelievably great convenience for the consumer.
But the credit card industry...
Again, I don't own the rights to this video. I'm just the messenger. I'm just showing you this video that I found on YouTube that I think is very important for everyone to see. It's basically a documentary about the secret history of credit cards. Very important that if you have a credit card, watch this whole entire documentary. Let me know at the end of this webinar, what you thought about it. How do you feel? And how did you felt when you watched this entire documentary? Let me know.
Industry plays by its own rules.
I don't know any merchant in America who can change the price after you've bought the item, except a credit card company.
Credit card banks earn record profits.
MBNA's profits last year, 1.5 times that of McDonald's. Well, McDonald's did too well last year.
But the profits come at a price.
Now they've raised my rate to 19.98, and I have not been late ever.
There are irritated, unhappy, dissatisfied customers in this industry.
They are the new loan sharks in America.
I certainly didn't imagine that someday we might have ended up creating a Frankenstein.
Frankenstein? What do you mean, Frankenstein?
Tonight, frontline correspondent Lowell Bergman and the New York Times investigate the secrets of your credit card. This may seem an unlikely place to begin the modern history of the credit card. More than 1,000 miles from Wall Street, in the paneled halls of the Federal Reserve in Washington. But this is where the credit card business first began to really take off. This is Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a modest town of 140,000, known for its cattle auctions and meatpacking industry. It's a town which boasts a huge post office, big enough to service a city several times its size. Every day, millions of pieces of mail pass through here. And from here, millions of credit card solicitations and bills are sent to mailboxes across America. And billions of dollars in credit card payments come in from around the world. Today, Sioux Falls is one of the major credit card processing centers in the country. It all happened in Sioux Falls because a quarter of a century ago, times were hard in South Dakota. There was a nationwide recession with double-digit inflation. Money was very tight. South Dakota banks were issuing very few mortgages or loans of any kind.
Interest rates were going into orbit. They were climbing all the time.
So
Bill Janklow was then the governor of South Dakota.
When I came to the governor's office, South Dakota had very tight historical laws on what you could charge to borrow. In other words, there was one interest rate by law that they could charge for new cars, another one for used cars. It was highly regulated what interest rates people could pay. What I'm trying to say is we may have a law that said you could charge 9%, but money cost 11%. So banks weren't loaning money.
To get the banks to issue loans, South Dakota decided to eliminate its historic cap on interest rates, known as a usury law.
We had actually changed some of our laws in '79, and we had previously introduced legislation and passed legislation, or we're passing legislation, to lift the ceilings on usury so we could free up and get capital in South Dakota.
At the same time across the country in New York City, a legendary banker had his own problems.
Oh, it's very simple. We're going broke.
Walter Wriston, then chairman of Citibank, had a credit card division that was hemorrhaging money. New York's usury laws prohibited banks from charging more than 12% on most consumer loans.
Interest rates went up to 20%. And if you are lending money at 12% and paying 20%, you don't have to be Einstein to realize you're out of business.
It was costing Citibank 20% for money, and you were only getting 12% back?
Certainly.
Because of the limit on interest.
Yes. There was no way that you could continue.
So Wriston and Citibank began looking for a new place to do business.
So we made a study of the 5 states that had either no usury law or very high amounts. One of them was South Dakota. So he said, look, we'll bring a couple of thousand jobs out here.
In 1981, Citibank moved its credit card operation from New York to South Dakota.
From the time I met them until we passed our legislation, it was just several weeks. I mean, we really moved. That was a good deal for us. That was a hell of a deal for them.
What did they get out of this?
What Citibank got out of it? They got to stay alive.
But what really attracted Citibank to South Dakota was an obscure Supreme Court decision that said a bank could now export its interest rate to other states. It was called the Marquette decision.
The Marquette Bank decision was a U.S. Supreme Court decision that said, forget where the bank is chartered. Wherever the credit decision is made, in whatever state, that's the place where you can apply interest wherever you make the loan. In other words, if South Dakota had a 25% ceiling, then you could charge 25%, even to a loan in Florida.
Janklow realized that the Marquette decision meant that South Dakota could become the credit card capital of America.
In a very short period of time, matter of a few months, I was meeting with the chairman of the board of Bank of America, with First Chicago of Illinois, Chase Manhattan Bank, Manufacturers Hanover Bank, Chemical Bank, Bank of New York, all the big banks in America, because only South Dakota at that point in time appeared to be willing to move forward to invite people to come in.
But soon, another state got into the act. Delaware copied South Dakota's legislation, and Wilmington soon became the credit card center of the East, luring other New York banks and giving rise to new companies like MBNA. For the first time in American history, there were no legal restrictions on the interest rates banks could charge on credit cards nationwide.
You could look at the Marquette decision and say, all right, maybe it took the lid off, but what it did was it had a very egalitarian effect.
Duncan McDonald is the former general counsel of Citibank's credit card division. He says the Marquette decision allowed bankers to charge higher interest rates to riskier customers.
The minute Marquette came along, you could jack the price up a little bit more to cover those people. And as a result, tens of millions of people who were paying 30 and 35% interest rates to small loan companies all of a sudden got the product at 19% interest rate and an annual fee of $20. So in that sense, it was very egalitarian and very good.
And very good for banking. As the deregulation of interest rates enabled more people to get credit cards, the industry began to expand and became the most profitable sector of banking, with $30 billion in profits last year. We wanted to talk to the executives of the major credit card banks about their business, but were directed instead to the American Bankers Association.
We've asked for interviews with all the major credit card companies. They won't talk to us. Why?
That's our job. They pay us dues to handle these kinds of sometimes difficult assignments.
Ed Yingling is the incoming president of the American Bankers Association and the industry's top lobbyist.
How profitable is the credit card business?
The credit card business is profitable. You would expect the credit card business to be somewhat more profitable than the rest of the industry or parts of the industry because it's riskier. It is an unsecured loan, and so you would expect the returns to be a little higher.
Wasn't last year record profits for this industry, and they're expected again this year?
Yeah, but compared to what? It is not an unusually profitable business compared to other businesses.
MBNA's profits last year, 1.5 times that of McDonald's.
Well, McDonald's didn't do well last year, and MBNA is a big company.
Citibank more profitable than Microsoft, Walmart, and the executives are highly paid.
These are really big businesses, and they do make money.
Today, nearly 144 million Americans have credit cards, and they are using their cards like never before, charging $1.5 trillion last year alone. Credit cards have become an essential part of the American economy.
I really can't say that I love my credit card, but I would hate to live without it.
I use it a lot for work. It's easy access. I can take clients out for dinner.
I take advantage of the miles. We fly first class on vacations. It's nice to be able to spend what you don't have.
Can you imagine living without a credit card in this society?
It's hard to imagine.
We sat down with a group of credit card customers to talk about how they use their cards.
We're consumers. America loves to consume. In our blood.
It is like an addiction. I mean, I have this new credit card in my pocket and look at that great dress. I can do it. I really shouldn't do it, or I'll just pay it off later. And you do it.
If I don't have that iPod, I'm not cool.
Yeah.
So I can charge it and pay it off.
And Christmas is just around the corner. There's always something.
They're just a gift. And for the traveler, which I am, a very, very, very frequent traveler indeed is what I am, they are indispensable.
Actor and author Ben Stein loves the convenience of using his credit cards.
Credit cards are an incredible deal for me. I mean, I have lots and lots of different cards. I mean, my wallet is just stuffed with cards. It's just insane. It's just ridiculous. I look like I've got a third breast from my carrying around my wallet with so many credit cards in it.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you
Stein.
very much.
Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Stein says he charges thousands of dollars a month in business expenses on his credit cards.
Well, I use all their good services and they don't make any money from me. I mean, none to speak of. Oh, wait, here's a kind of cute one.
The credit card companies do make a percentage on each transaction, but Stein is not their ideal customer because, like 55 million Americans, he pays his bills off every month and doesn't pay any interest.
The credit card companies hate people like me who pay off our bills every month. And I know that because I ran into a fellow I went to high school with on the street, and he told me he worked for a credit card company. And I told him about how much I use credit cards. Now I pay them off every month. And he said, oh, we hate you. We hate you guys. We call you deadbeats.
Deadbeats in the upside-down world of the credit card business are the people like Ben Stein, who pay off their bills on time. The industry's best customers are the 90 million Americans who don't pay off their credit card debt. They're called the revolvers.
People in the industry tell us that revolvers, people who borrow money basically with their credit card, that's where the profits are.
I don't think that's where all the profits are.
Well,
I think it is generally understood that those that use the revolving part of the credit card are kind of the sweet spot.
Today, the sweet spot, as Mr. Yingling calls it, continues to grow, and the top interest rates charged are higher than ever before, according to Robert McKinley, who founded CardWeb, a research firm that tracks the industry.
The top 10 issuers in the country are charging interest rates of 25 to 30% to some of their customers. And this is in a market where interest rates are at a 40-year low. We have consumers paying interest rates that would be considered loan sharks in my day.
At the same time, Americans with credit card balances are carrying a record amount of debt.
How much credit card debt is the average American family carrying?
About $8,000 for those who are carrying some debt.
Elizabeth Warren is a Harvard law professor. She has researched the growing credit card debt held by middle-class families and how it can lead to big trouble.
And what families are discovering, even with mom and dad in the workplace, is they often can't make it to the end of the month. And so they often use credit cards to bridge the gap. They borrow to make ends meet. And then what happens is something goes wrong. Somebody loses a job, somebody gets sick, family breaks apart through death or divorce.
She doing okay?
Like most Americans, Jim and Juanita Mueller managed to pay their credit card bills each month until they both lost their jobs.
We didn't have any emergency funds set aside, so they kind of became our emergency fund to fund our life while we were waiting for the employment to come along. So you borrow from the credit card and pay that month, and then the job doesn't happen, so now you got to borrow more, and we just kept digging deeper and deeper. And we started robbing Peter to pay Paul, as the expression goes. You know, take money from a credit card to pay other credit cards, and that just increases it. Then that's where it really started to snowball.
As the Muellers fell behind, their credit card companies began to apply penalty interest rates and fees to their bills.
Do you remember when the interest rates started to rise?
Some of them, one late payment, and forget your old interest deal that you had. So,
and forget the fact that you had the credit card for a number of years and were paying on it regularly.
we're never late. And as soon as you miss one payment, it's like all deals are off. Everything goes up. I mean, some of the credit cards we had were 9% or less. All of a sudden they're 24, 25% because, oh, well, you're late. You've been late several months, and now we're going to raise your interest rate, and we're charging you the late fee. And now because the interest rate and the late fees have accumulated, now you're over your limit, so there's an over limit fee.
The Mueller's credit card debt eventually grew to nearly $80,000 on 10 cards. They found that they could no longer keep up with their payments and had to file for bankruptcy. They were one of a record 7 million families to file in the last 5 years.
It wasn't that we didn't want to pay off our credit cards. We got to the point where it was impossible. It was just, I mean, short of a rich relative, which neither one of us have, dying and leaving us $100,000, nothing was going to happen. Because the credit card companies weren't willing to work with us unless they got all their money as fast as possible.
The main things that trigger a bankruptcy filing are a job loss, a medical problem, or family breakup. Without those things, most American families can deal with their credit card debt. But high credit card debt puts them at much greater risk so that if they stumble, if they get hit by one of the other blows, they get their feet tangled up in those high interest rates and they just get sunk.
0% for life on transfer balances and up to 3% cashback bonus.
Ironically, the Muellers are still getting offers for more credit cards.
And you're still getting solicitations in the mail.
Yeah, we got one yesterday from a credit card company that told me I would never have credit with them again. One of the last times I talked with them and told them what our situation was, they said, well, we're canceling your card and you are, in essence, blackballed with us for life. You'll never have a credit card from us ever again. Yesterday, received a solicitation from them, 0% for life, with up to a $50,000 line of credit.
Diapers, milk, and laundry detergent. $25.
Oh yeah, and that stuff he just said.
Spend more time with your family. Priceless.
Encouraging Americans to take on credit card debt is critical to the profitability of the industry.
Hawaii!
Call now to request the City Advantage World MasterCard, and you can earn free award travel plus get 10,000 bonus miles.
Making it easier and more attractive to spend has been the job of Madison Avenue marketers.
New tool belt and chrome tool set. $126. Getting some use out of it. Priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For Father's Day, there's MasterCard.
But the success of the industry has also relied on financial innovators like this man, Andrew Carr, whose peculiar genius, industry insiders say, has helped shape the way the credit card business works. Carr, a consultant to interviews, only agreed to talk with us if we did not identify his clients or where he is currently living.
Give me an idea of, from the time you got involved, late 70s, with credit cards, the ideas, the innovations that you've come up with.
Well, I convinced the client that instead of having 5% of the balance as a minimum payment, we should reduce that to 2%, which is a very dramatic change, less than half.
Before Andrew Carr got involved in the industry, most bankers required that customers pay 5% of their credit card balance every month. Carr realized that if customers were able to pay less, they would borrow more.
You were able to explain that it was people making low payments who were the most profitable.
Having a lower minimum payment allows you to offer higher credit lines, which first of all makes your card product more attractive because people judge, even if they don't intend to use the whole line, they would rather have a higher line. The high balance accounts will be much more profitable than the low balance accounts.
Because they're paying interest?
Because they're paying interest on a higher balance.
Today, Carr's 2% minimum is a common feature on millions of credit card bills. And every month, some 35 million Americans pay only the minimum payment.
By the way, while you were running up balances on your credit cards, or currently have balances on your credit cards, do you have cash in the bank?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can wipe my debt out.
So why don't you do it?
I feel it's the nest egg. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. You might need that money for something else.
So even though you're paying double-digit interest and you could get rid of the balance or most of it, you're going to still make those payments and keep the cash in your bank account.
Right.
Andrew Carr's research showed that making the minimum payment eased consumers' anxiety about carrying large amounts of credit card debt. They believed they were being financially prudent.
If you lose your job or something bad happens, you have to have money, and you don't want to live off of a credit card. So you need to have that money, saved somewhere in case something happens.
In fact, the industry was reaping huge profits from Andrew Carr's intuition about people's behavior. But then in the late 90s, Carr says he had a new insight. Customers were being flooded with competitive offers for low-interest cards.
People were offering 12.9% interest for the first 6 months, 10.9% on balance transfers, and I convinced the client to go straight to 0% as an introductory rate. It gave them competitive advantage. It led to, of course, the others also going to 0%.
Carr knew that even though the 0% offer could easily change, people would still be attracted to the bait.
When you're getting something in the mail several times a week that offers you 0% for 6 months, they look at the headlines of the solicitation of the mail, they spend 30 seconds on it, and okay, I'm going to be better off at the beginning. They're going to give me something. They're going to give me a 0% rate. People believe what they want to believe.
0% APR. What does this mean? I mean, you're saying that's meaningless.
In most cases, if you were to sign up for this card, the bank will honor that rate through that period of time. But there's a lot of fine print that goes with what could happen. For example, if you were to miss one payment, this rate will go away immediately.
According to McKinley, the key to understanding how credit cards are marketed lies in the great digital revolution, the amassing of data on American consumers.
Well, there's a gold mine of information residing out there in these databases by the consumer reporting agencies, the credit bureaus. They're collecting information about what kind of accounts you have open, the balances, whether or not you make those payments on time. And that's a huge reservoir of information there that they can tap into and be able to get a sense as to whether or not a consumer is a revolver, someone who doesn't pay the balance off in full each month. So they can kind of sift those out. And today it's really become almost surgical.
The ability to surgically target consumers and track their financial behavior has become a booming business dominated by 3 credit reporting agencies which gather information. All that data is then crunched by a little-known company called Fair Isaac, which calculates a number called a FICO score for almost every American with a credit history.
We're not a credit reporting agency like an Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian that's gathering information daily on consumers and building up consumer records.
Tom Quinn is a spokesman for Fair Isaac.
We simply work with the credit reporting agencies, and they deploy their data onto our mathematical formula to create that score.
The median FICO score is 720 out of a possible 850. The riskiest customers have scores below 600. The score is an indication of how likely you are to pay your bills.
Lenders use that score almost like a thermometer to determine if they're going to grant credit or not. So the algorithm is an indication of that consumer's future risk in terms of credit behavior.
Algorithm meaning a mathematical formula.
Yes, mathematical formula.
And how many people have this number?
We estimate that approximately 75% of the U.S. population that is eligible for credit, i.e. those who are 18 years or older, have a FICO score at any given time.
You know your credit score?
Mm-hmm.
You're not aware that you have a credit score?
I'm aware that I have one. I don't know what it is.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either.
So if I said to you the words FICO score, do you know what a FICO score is?
I know the terms. I'm not clear on what they are. I've never gotten my credit score.
An individual's FICO score often determines how much interest he will pay on a credit card. The terms and conditions of the card are laid out in the fine print of this contract.
When I get a credit card, there's a contract that goes along with it. What kind of contract is this? Because I never read it. Have you ever read it when it came to you?
I'd have to admit, in most cases, I may have just glanced at it. You know, it's filled with so many legal terms and so many pages and such small print, and it can be intimidating, I think.
It says that I'm guaranteed the terms of the loan for as long as I have the card.
Yeah, well, things that the one unique thing about the credit card business is that the issuer can change the terms and conditions at will.
Without asking my permission?
Absolutely. They can change it all. It only takes 15 days notice to make those changes. I mean, you could be offered a 5 or 6% interest rate today and perhaps get it. 2 months later, that could be 30%. There's nothing to prevent the issuer from changing those conditions.
Even Professor Elizabeth Warren, an expert on contract law, says she has a hard time deciphering her contract.
I've read my credit card agreement and I can't figure out the terms. I teach contract law, and the underlying premise of contract law is the two parties to the contract understand what the terms are.
Have you ever read the contract that's sent to you with your credit card?
Yes, but I'm a lawyer.
Do you understand it?
I do understand it. I think it'd be very hard for a lot of people to understand. And I think it's a constant battle to try to figure out how you make disclosures and those types of things in plain English so that somebody will read them.
Ed Yingling says the fact that the contracts are difficult to understand is not the industry's fault.
Our disclosures are very explicitly set forth in law and in regulation, much more so than in most consumer contracts. Ours are heavily regulated.
They say the contract contains information, even the typeface, that's mandated by law.
But the laws, that's the point now. The laws are inadequate. There's not enough there. These guys have figured out the best way to compete is to put a smiley face in your commercials, a low introductory rate, and hire a team of MBAs to lay traps in the fine print.
One of those traps, according to Warren and other critics, is something called universal default.
If you do miss a mortgage payment, you do miss a car payment, any other, it can trigger what is called a universal default. They actually have the right to change it if you miss a payment with another creditor. Or in some cases, even if there's a change in your credit worthiness. In fact, you don't have to miss a payment. You don't have to go over your credit limit to be in default. You could, for example, maybe your balances are too high.
You've seen one of these, right, before? I want to read you something from a contract. Your APRs also may vary if you are in default under this agreement or any other agreement that you have with us or any other related companies for any of the following reasons. You fail to make a payment to another creditor when due. Do you understand what this means?
Fine.
You do. Do you know that it means that if you fail to make a payment and are late on anything else that you're paying on, your house, your car, anything else, they will find out and they can change your interest rate? Did you know that?
I had no idea. I had no idea. This is the first I've ever heard that.
Well, why is it legal?
Well, because it's disclosed in the contract.
It doesn't seem fair. You've done no harm to the company themselves. You're late with someone else. You haven't affected your standing with that company. No, it doesn't seem fair that they would suddenly say, oh, well, now I can raise your rate.
They're taking advantage of someone who is in that position.
That's what Andrew Guile of Wilmington, Delaware, says happened to him.
Yes. I had gotten a letter from MBNA several months ago that my rate was going to be increased.
MBNA raised his 8.9% interest rate to 19.9%, and his minimum monthly payments nearly doubled.
They told me the first time that my rate had been raised because they found an occasion back in 1998 when I'd gone 60 days past due on a competitor's credit card. And I asked them, what in the world does that have to do with MBNA, especially being 6 years ago? I said, that has nothing to do with my account here. I mean, that it absolutely took my breath away.
When Guile protested, he says he was given another reason for the change. He had become riskier, he was told, because his account balances with other creditors were too high.
I was a great customer at MBNA, always paid my balances on time, paid more than the minimum balance, many times paying it down completely, but I was never late. I used the card in a wise and responsible manner.
Frontline wanted to ask MBNA about Guile's problem. But we were told they never comment on an individual's account. But just 2 months after our interview, Guile says he got a call from the office of the president of MBNA saying they would move his interest rate back to 8.9%.
The real question here is whether or not you can change the price, not for new items you buy after your credit score has changed, but for old credit that you've already taken out. My mortgage company agreed to an interest rate, and if I lost my job, my mortgage company does not get to double my mortgage. Credit card companies can say, remember how you bought the big screen TV at 9.8% interest? We've decided we want 29.9% interest. And there's not a darn thing you can do about it right now.
The contract allows a credit card company to change the interest rate on money you borrow from them after you borrowed it.
Some do. Yeah, it depends on the contract, but a lot of them do.
If they find out through this information system that you've been late on your payment for your automobile, they can notify you and that you're going to change the interest rate on the money they've already lent you.
And I think there is a misunderstanding about what the credit card agreement is. My agreement with you is you've come to me, you have a certain credit score. And based on that credit score, I'm going to charge you 12%. If in the future it turns out that your credit score has deteriorated and you now are more risky to me, I'm going to charge you the interest rate I would charge to somebody that has that credit score.
Is it fair to change the price of the deal after the fact?
The product is not a promise to somebody that we will lend you that amount of money forever at that interest rate. It is a very short-term revolving line of credit.
It's dishonest. Plain and simple, it's dishonest. They may say it's good business for their financial bottom line, but it is a very poor way to treat a customer.
In 1996, another important Supreme Court decision opened the door to bigger profits for the credit card industry and a raft of new complaints from their customers. That decision, Smiley versus Citibank, much like the Marquette decision before it, lifted state restrictions, this time on the fees that credit card banks could charge.
We were working this thing here for a good cause, free market pricing.
Duncan McDonald was one of the lawyers who worked on the Smiley case.
The late fees that were common across the industry up until Smiley were in the $5 and the $10 range. And the economic thinking was that there had to be flexibility to allow up to $15. But when Smiley came along and took the lid off it, it went from 5 to 10 to 15 to 29, and recently it's gone up to 39. I would guess that it's probably going to go up to $50 a year and a half from now. I certainly didn't imagine that someday we might have ended up creating a Frankenstein.
Frankenstein? What do you mean, Frankenstein?
I look at that and I say to myself, is $50 a fair fee plus a 25% interest rate and all these other fees that are thrown on for folks who are probably not that risky? Is that fair? I look at it and I say to myself, there's the Frankenstein. We've created something that has to be dealt with.
Since Smiley, credit card companies have doubled the amount of revenue they generate from fees. Late fees, over-the-limit fees, return check fees, and the like.
Fee income has gone up much, much faster than interest income in the business.
So the fees are meant as a penalty to make sure that you pay on time, or are they a profit stream?
Well, they really have become a profit stream. It's not just the fees that they charge, even though they're 3 and 4 times higher than they were less than 10 years ago. That's the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the penalty that's inflicted on consumers with these situations where they make a late payment. It's the penalty interest rate that really does the damage. Your interest rate could double overnight.
But just so I understand that the interest rates are not regulated. They can change the interest rate relationship that you have with them for 15 days notice. So that's a major source of profit for them. And the fees are now no longer regulated.
That's exactly right. It's wide open. We're beginning to see banks do all this tweaking where they're changing the interest rates and raising fees, adding new fees. all kinds of way they calculate interest, setting the due dates on a Sunday and a holiday on the hopes that maybe you'll trip up and get a payment in late. It's become a very anti-consumer marketplace.
Even the industry's top lobbyist is concerned.
I think it would be short-sighted for a credit card company to have fees that would make somebody angry, because they're likely to lose that customer. And I think it's going to cost them more to replace that customer than they're likely to get out of the fee.
You have bankers who've skyrocketed rates from 14% to 25% and $40 late fees and bad check fees and so on that fall on the shoulders of the less well-off. Yes, something bad has happened.
So we need regulation.
Well, we have regulation. We have regulation already. The control of the currency regulates all the national banks, and they have very vast powers.
The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the OCC, is an obscure Washington agency, part of the Treasury Department, and it regulates the national banks, banks like Chase, Citibank, and MBNA that issue most of the credit cards in this country. Julie Williams is the acting comptroller of the currency.
We have 3 goals: to make sure that the banks don't fail, to ensure the integrity of how the banks operate their corporate governance, and to make sure that they deal fairly and honestly with their customers. At the extreme, we have the ability to take enforcement actions, and we have done that. We have taken enforcement actions.
Can you give us an example of how you have brought a large institution to task?
Well, I think probably the most conspicuous example of that would be the action that we took in connection with Providian.
That's not the story they tell in San Francisco, where in the late 1990s, the credit card company Providian Financial was experiencing double-digit growth. Providian specialized in the riskiest customers with the lowest credit scores.
They were targeting people with questionable credit or marginal credit, people that couldn't get bank cards elsewhere.
Pat Wallace is the head of the Better Business Bureau in the San Francisco area.
First thing that got our attention, of course, were the numbers, and the numbers of complaints. Providian was involved in all kinds of questionable offers and policies and procedures and operations.
Complaints about Providian from around the country came here to Wallace's office.
Providian, for example, was accepting payments from consumers on their accounts, depositing the checks, but not crediting the account for sometimes up to several weeks. What was the net result of that? Invariably, the consumer got a late charge.
They were holding payments so that they could charge late fees and they could charge overdraft.
Over limit fees, 50% of their income were fees, not interest on the money loan. They were pushing the envelope. And they got by with it for a period of time, and they made a lot of money.
The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency is the main federal agency that takes complaints. Did they come to your assistance?
No, they just simply weren't interested. The response was, well, we'll take it from here, we'll watch from here. It's not a problem at this time for us.
Complaints about Providian were also coming to June Crevette at the San Francisco District Attorney's Consumer Protection Unit, and she began to investigate, eventually drawing local press attention and then a phone call from the OCC.
Had you ever heard of the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency?
The answer from my perspective is no. Didn't really know much about it, didn't know exactly what they did and exactly who they regulated. We've never heard of them being very active in the area of consumer litigation or consumer enforcement actions against the banks.
And when the OCC contacted June Crevette, she says instead of cooperation, they issued a challenge.
There were a couple of meetings where the subject of preemption was raised.
Preemption?
Yeah. That's where they say, because we're the federal regulator, that they have exclusive authority over the national banks, and therefore we don't have jurisdiction.
You, San Francisco, don't have jurisdiction.
Yes.
The San Francisco district attorney says to us that they were told, you don't have real jurisdiction, we have real jurisdiction, and indicated to them that they might want to get out of the case.
The way that worked out was we worked together with the San Francisco District Attorney's Office. It was a collaborative process.
Well, they say once you got involved, it was very fruitful. But
Right.
what they're telling us is that the OCC only got involved once this whole situation became public, that prior to the news publicity that they were responsible for, they had no contact with the OCC.
We worked cooperatively with them when we got information about what was going on.
The joint investigation eventually culminated in a $300 million settlement. Providian declined to be interviewed and issued a statement saying, rather than revisit the past, the company is focused on services that provide real benefits today. In Washington, the OCC has been increasingly asserting its authority and attempting to curb consumer enforcement actions by local prosecutors. This has sparked a nationwide battle led by the attorneys general in all 50 states.
The OCC is now trying to squeeze out the state presence to prevent us from protecting consumers, which I think is ultimately very injurious to consumers.
Elliot Spitzer is the Attorney General of New York State.
We get thousands of complaints every year about credit card issues relating to the major banks, major card issuers. And so we get these complaints and we try to deal with the credit card companies. But increasingly over the past number of years, what we have heard back from the major banks in a variety of contexts is that we don't need to deal with you because the OCC has told us, indeed has directed us, not to deal with state enforcement entities.
Isn't this just a turf battle between the states and a federal agency?
It's a one-way turf battle. And by that, what I mean is we are more than happy to acknowledge that the OCC has jurisdiction across the financial system when it comes to certain issues. What the OCC is trying to do is squeeze the states out in the one area where we have been incredibly useful, which is consumer protection.
The state attorneys general, Mr. Spitzer and others, say that people in our state know who we are. We have a consumer complaint office. And our beef is that you guys, the OCC, want to push them out of the business of consumer complaints.
We don't want to push them out of the business. We are both there protecting consumers. What we have been striving to do is to individually and in developing arrangements with the states, work out the best way to work cooperatively with them.
In January of 2004, the OCC declared itself the exclusive regulator of all the national banks, effectively immunizing the big credit card issuers from most state consumer protection laws. The OCC cited the Providian case as proof of its commitment to consumers.
I was dismayed that they used Providian as the prime example of their ability and their will to enforce the laws that pertain to consumers.
To you, they weren't the white knight who came into San Francisco and saved consumers from Providian.
No, we were.
Since the Providian case, the OCC says it has been more aggressive, recently issuing an advisory admonishing the banks for misleading the public about practices like 0% introductory rates and universal default.
The OCC itself has acknowledged that these practices are, as they describe it, very troubling. But notice what they didn't do. They didn't say, and we're going to prohibit them, stop them. Those are unfair practices. They are unsafe and unsound, and don't do them. Instead, they said, it's a problem. Look, if they think it's a problem, then tell the credit card companies to stop doing it.
Why don't you simply stop them? Why don't you ban these practices?
When we see practices that are potentially problematic, we take a variety of actions.
So you could tell them to stop and they would have to do it.
If we had a basis for concluding that a bank was involved in a practice that was unfair or deceptive,
if it violated any of the other many consumer protection standards that apply to them, we can tell them to stop it immediately.
Whatever the OCC is doing, Pat Wallace says it hasn't stopped the Better Business Bureau from being deluged with complaints.
It's not an accident that the banking credit card business generates more complaints nationally across the country than any other industry. Now, what does that say to you? Out of 1,000 industries that we track, they're number one. I'd say there's a problem here. These things aren't an anomaly. All these complaints have some basis in fact. There are irritated, unhappy, dissatisfied customers in this industry, and we see it.
The Better Business Bureau tells us credit cards and banking and credit cards together, the number one problem.
Of all types of complaints?
Yeah.
I would have thought it was like cable, satellite installation,
No, I guess
or
you guys,
used car dealers.
your
or
members
something.
apparently are amongst.
That's I would not have thought that that was the case.
Critics like Elizabeth Warren believe that there would be fewer complaints if the credit card industry clearly disclosed how its business works, particularly when it comes to the minimum monthly payment.
If people knew that the cost of minimum monthly payments was that they would still be paying for yesterday's trip to the shopping mall for the next 35 years, some people might decide to pay a lot more than the minimum. And the industry knows that. That's why they don't want to tell.
You advertise in your bills what the minimum monthly payment is, but you don't tell people how much that might cost you if you stuck to that minimum payment. Why not?
The disclosure would be wrong 99% of the time because nobody, almost nobody, pays exactly the minimum, that minimum, every month for the 20 years and never charges another thing. It's just going to be a hyper-technical, expensive disclosure that nobody would understand. So we are against disclosures that nobody would understand and that are wrong. We are for disclosures that help people understand. It's that simple.
This is a nonsense argument. In the line, directly under the line that says minimum monthly payment, there's a simple sentence that can be added. If you make minimum monthly payments, it will take you how many years, 35 years, and how many months to pay off this bill.
The man who takes credit for inventing the 2% minimum payment thinks more disclosure is useless.
This is a fascination that every now and then someone with an axe to grind or someone who thinks he's going to help consumers has on his mind. But if we had a tape and we ran a computer on transcripts of 10,000 customer service calls with questions, okay, I don't think you'd ever hear that question. So I'm kind of baffled at the artificiality of it. I don't think that's what consumers want to know because they don't expect to make minimum payments forever.
Do you know if you made the minimum payment, for instance, on your bill, how long it would take you to pay it off?
I'm not in a hurry to find out. I'm just going to pay it off.
Would you like to know?
Sure. Curious, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It would inspire me to put down more. It would inspire me. And I think that's probably why they don't put it down. It would inspire a lot more people to pay more than the minimum.
Well, virtually everyone who holds a credit card, one way or the other, under existing laws today and provisions, can be completely taken advantage of by the credit card industry. So there is a deception going on to get you into the game. Once you're in, and I've got you in, then if you get out, I charge you. If you don't meet your obligations, I charge you. You move left, you move right, I've got you.
So what are you going to do about it?
Well, I've got legislation, so I got a bill. There's always a quick answer here, and I don't know how far it'll go because I've tried this in the past. I'm not new to the issue. A good deal of the blame for the crisis of credit card debt we're seeing in America lies in how the practices are followed by credit card companies.
In the summer of 2004, Senator Dodd introduced a credit card reform bill that would, among other things, require credit card companies to disclose how long it would take consumers to pay off their balance. But he is not optimistic that the bill will pass. His many previous attempts to reform the credit card business have all failed.
Why haven't you or other lawmakers been able to put some regulation into place? Is it their political power?
Sure, there's no question about it. I mean, every time we've tried to offer legislation, this industry has become very, very powerful, and it's very successful in defeating every legislative attempt that's been made over the last several years to inject some responsibility on the part of this credit card industry.
Your critics say that you block every attempt to pass industry reform or consumer protection legislation. You've blocked minimum monthly payment legislation, interest cap rates, and a ban on marketing to college students.
We've done our best to block bad bills. Those are bad bills. And we'll continue to do our best to block them.
Bad for
consumers.
I want to promise you something today. You know, keep on defeating me and keep on defeating ideas like this, and you'll look back and wished we had passed this legislation. Because I'll tell you, Congress will come along and they'll take steps far more egregious, in their view, than anything I'm suggesting. I'm discussing disclosure. Just let people know what the deal is.
I think there's a time when the American consumer is going to hit the tipping point on this issue, and it's no longer going to be all right for credit card companies, once they're in financial trouble, to change the interest rates, to load them on with fees and penalties, to just decide that the terms of the contract they originally signed are no longer the terms of the contract. I think that day is coming.
Even an industry insider like Duncan MacDonald, who worked at Citibank for nearly 30 years, is deeply concerned.
I know enough about the industry and the lawyers in the industry, and there have to be people sitting there saying, we've got to find a way to deal with this. Have we reached that point? I don't know. But my guess is there's a debate going on. And I hope there's a debate going on. What a tragedy it would be if there isn't.
The tragedy would be what?
The status quo gets worse. The status quo is bad, and then it gets worse.
Profits keep
25% of bad rates become 30% bad rates, and late fees become $50 and $60 and so on.
Back in South Dakota, the man who helped the industry take off in the 1980s has mixed feelings about what he helped create.
Do you ever reflect on the fact that in this great success, which has been a great benefit to your state, at the same time has helped create a way of borrowing money, spending money that may have gotten out of control?
I think the answer to that is yes. I mean, we've become a plastic society. We've become a plastic society. A lot of times you want to give people cash, they look at you. Cash? Cash?
You were instrumental in making this happen in many ways.
Okay, I didn't think of any of this when it happened, and I'm still glad I still like what we did, and I still think it was a huge opportunity for my state. Now, if we're talking about the industry and 18, 19, 20 plus % interest, do I think that's a healthy thing for human beings? The answer is no. I don't think that's healthy at all.
Next time on Frontline, a strategic alliance.
America struck a pact with Saudi Arabia.
Built on trust.
Well, there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the documentary. It was a very important documentary. Very important documentary that if you have credit cards, check your interest rates. Check your stubs, because you're probably paying too much. Okay? This is one of the reasons why I did this webinar, this credit repair webinar, credit builder webinar. You know, you could call it like a credit awareness webinar, which is part 3 of my debt freedom, webinar that I'm putting here in Waterbury, Connecticut, out there. So what I want you guys to do is listen to the videos, get your pens, notebook ready, because you're gonna write down a lot of important, strategies, tips, and tricks that you're gonna learn on this webinar, credit repair workshop, however you guys want to call it. Anyway, those who tune in, thank you very much. And now just make sure you got your notebook and your pens ready for you to get that writing on. All right, let's get started. ICR Financial Fitness is my organization. We have the most affordable and simple trusted credit repair process to fix, repair, boost, rebuild your credit in Connecticut, period. What I want you to do is watch and listen to this video. Listen to David. He's a certified FICO professional credit repair expert. He's the one that taught me, mentored me, online, how to repair, rebuild, and increase my credit score 100 points or more in less than a year with this very unique credit repair software that you're going to be amazed of. So let's tune in.
Welcome to your credit coaching course in Credit Versio, and congratulations on taking a huge step towards great credit. My name is David Mahalik. I'm a certified FICO Pro, credit expert, and I will be your instructor. I've personally coached thousands of people, and I'm looking forward to helping you as well. Before we get started, I want to share this with you. Over 70 million people in America have a poor credit rating. Now, for some, it was because they went through tough financial times. But for many, they simply never learned how to manage their credit correctly. And because of that, their credit is managing them in a cycle of credit challenges that goes on for years and years. Now, this is true of people from all walks of life. Over the years, my students have included CEOs, doctors, attorneys, to players from the NFL and NBA, even young college students, and just about everybody in between. They all have the same thing in common. They didn't know they were playing a high-stakes game where losing meant expensive penalties, like thousands of dollars in high interest, and even getting declined for credit. Starting today, I want you to look at credit like a game. To win, you have to know the rules. And too many people are losing the credit game because nobody ever taught them how to play. The credit bureaus, FICO, and every bank, credit union, and collection company in the country knows these rules, and they play to win. In this course, you'll learn the rules of the credit game, and I'll teach you how to play it and play it well. It's not hard. In fact, half of the game is knowing the rules. I'll show you exactly what to do and what not to do to win the credit game and achieve a great credit report and score. It is my pleasure to be your credit coach. Let's get started.
So the first thing you have to do, go to the site, myfico.com. Go there, and you can see an estimate of your credit score. So basically, all you have to do is answer 10 questions, and the credit score estimator will give you an estimate of your actual credit score. The only thing I ask you guys, telling you guys to make sure you answer the questions as accurate as possible. All right. So the better you answer the questions, the more your credit score will be. So in other words, you have to be honest with your questions. All right. And for you guys to get the link, you have to register or subscribe to my site or subscribe to my webinars for you can get the whole entire agenda of this webinar. This is part 3 of my webinar. So on the first part, I have like a QR code that you guys could scan, and the whole entire webinar course goes inside your cell phone, and then you can actually go to the website, click the link, that says get started, and it goes directly to the website where you can take the estimator, exam to check your actual estimate credit score. So in order for you to get the whole entire webinar, and get 100% access of this entire, course, debt freedom course, credit repair course, or combined, you have to subscribe to my website at icrfinancialfitness.com. All right, and I can send you the link where to get the course. All right, the mini course, the free mini course. There's one that's free, and there's one that I charge. This is the one that I charge. So take advantage of what you're looking at and what you're gonna, learn on this webinar. So here's my old credit score versus my new credit score. These are my actual results. 652, 672, 702. That was in 2019. Now in 2023, it's been 644, 765, 780, 744. Okay, so as you can see, Credit Versio, has taught me on a simple, quick way to increase my credit score 100 points or more in less than a year. As you can see, my credit score went up, 92 points, 93 points, 78 points. If you add all those points, it's more than 100 points or more. Okay, so Credit Versio works, guys. It works. This is the same software that I use to increase my credit score, boost up my credit score, and the same one that I use for my clients. But stay tuned, because I have a little surprise for you guys. I'm going to show you how to get this software for free. Stay tuned. So these are the 4 simple steps to repay your credit, guys. There's some people out there that make it so complicated. It is not complicated. Credit Versio, it shows you that it is not complicated at all. That is not complicated at all, guys. And believe me, from experience, I've been doing it for a long time already, and it's not complicated at all. And I'm going to show you proof right now. So this is the new way. The old way, it used to be like you get your 3 credit reports, your TransUnion, Experian, your Equifax. You get them, or either you call the 877 number, they mail it to you, or either you go online to annual free credit report, and you get all 3 credit reports, but not the score. And you can see, your negative and your positives and stuff like that. But now, Credit Versio has made it easier and very simple, for you to check your credit score and check all 3 of your credit reports and find out on a click of a button, what's your positives and which ones are your negatives and which ones you have to write the letters to and so on and so on. As I keep on with this workshop, credit repair workshop, you're gonna see how simple, 4 simple steps on how I repaired my credit, and I help other people repair their credits too. So stay tuned. Step one is basically joining a company that's gonna get your 3 credit reports. You know, that's step one. Okay, so that's the first step. The second step is kickoff. The third step is get a credit utilization calculator. The fourth step is get credit Versio. And what's gonna happen when you connect all these 4 steps, when you sign up for all these 4 steps, you're gonna start the process to repair your credit, rebuild your credit, and increase your credit score 100 points or more in less than a year. Guaranteed. You know, so if you follow these 4 steps, just like I just told you, step 1, 2, 3, and 4, you're gonna start the process to increase your credit score in less than a year. 100 points or more in less than a year on all 3 credit reports. All right, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, all 3 of them. All right, so I'm gonna go deeper. So a credit bureau secret that most people with credit cards need to know. I told you I was gonna go deeper. So secret number 1, payment history. In your credit report number, this is how it increases. It's 35%. 35% is payment history. That's 192.50 points. Okay? 30% is amount owed. That's 165 points. 15% is length of credit history, which is 82.50 points. 10% is new credit, which is 55 points, guys. This is a very important one because let's say you have bad credit, and you want to build credit. With the kickoff program that I'm going to show you in a little while, you basically open a new credit line and you're going to get, probably in about 3 months, you're going to get like 55 points increase on your credit score. That's how much it took me. It took me 3 months to get 55 points on my credit score. That got me to the 650 around there. All right. So the 10%, just because it's a little bit, is very important because that's going to help you build credit. Now the 30% is the amount owed. This has to deal with what I'm going to explain to you after this, which is your credit utilization. All right. There's going to be a video about that, and it's going to show you how it works. Okay. So now, again, the other 10% is a credit mix. It's a mixture of credit, like a car loan, a student loan, a mortgage, personal loan, those kind of things, combined with revolving credit. Okay. And the credit range equals 300 to 850. So you can gain or lose 550 points, whenever you start paying your credit cards on time. Now you start paying them late, that's when you start losing points. Okay? The key is to do not be late, pay at least a little bit more than the minimum payment. So the monthly total credit utilization points, is 550 points or more every month on your credit reports. So if you follow those numbers, 192, 165, 55, 82, 55, if you pay the minimum payment, you know, on time, your credit score will stay at 165. But if you continue doing it, that 165 could become 265. You know, it depends, on your credit utilization. You want to keep it lower than 30%. That way your credit score starts increasing. Now, the 192.50 is payment history. In other words, the less you start deleting, old creditors, you know, the better your credit score will be. Okay. But it takes 6 to 7 years for a creditor to delete. You know, it depends which one. Okay. So what I'm trying to say, you have to have history of credit to gain credit points. Okay. Even if you paid everything on time, do not delete it. Leave it there until they delete it themselves. Most of the time, they don't. It stays there. If it's positive credit, let's say you had it for 10 years, it will stay there. Okay. As long as you want to delete it. All right. The key is to delete the negative stuff. Things that you could delete. You cannot delete everything because your credit score will gradually go down even more faster. All right. So again, those two things will give you 192 points. So if your credit history is good, that 192 could become 292. You know, same thing with the new credit. As you start building credit, you get 55 points, probably 105 points, and so on and so on. Okay. Same thing of the length of credit history. You know, uh, again, make sure that you don't delete everything on your credit report because your credit scores start going down. As you can see right here, if I click here, it goes into the credit utilization calculator. Won't be able to click there because you guys won't be able to see it. The only ones that can see it if you scan the QR code on the first webinar that I did. Okay. The other way you can see it is subscribe to my website that you see on the screen, and I send you the whole entire course for free. Now, I can show you how to automate your expensive credit cards and debts payments to save money and cancel some of the interest on all your loans. So would you like to learn that? Let me know. By getting only one high credit line on the amount of your gross monthly pay from your job, you can optimize and automate monthly household expense payments every month with a card, and then pay your credit card in full before the month statement date starts all over again. You can start to control your debts, your bills, your expenses, and increase your credit score 100 points or more every month at the same time. So, check this out. Then, every 15th of the month, you pay off the credit card in full or split 4 weeks into 4 payments. For example, Week 1, 500. Week 2, 500. Week 3, 500. Week 4, 500. That equals 2,000. Okay. But before that, let's say your gross pay from your job is $700 a week times 4 weeks. That's $2,800 a month income minus 2,000 on expenses, all your debts, all your bills, everything. You're left with $800. Emergency fund, save, invest. Again, emergency fund, save, invest. All right. I'm gonna show you in details what you can do with the $800. Where you could put it at, so you could gain more money and save for emergency issues and stuff like that. Okay. So your gross is $2,800. So you have to get a credit card of about $2,800. you know then you continue to do the same process every month. Your credit score can and will increase 100 points or more every month. You will also start to reverse the compound interest to zero on your credit card because you're paying it on time and you're not paying it late. All right. Again, let's get deeper. Let's say your credit score is about 650 or more, and you were approved for a credit card of $2,500. Or your total household bills are a total of $2,800, which that's your income. $2,800 is your income. What you do is on the first of every month, you pay all your household expenses with your credit card. And then every 15th of the month, you pay the credit card in full. So you can pay it in full at the end of the month before the new credit card statement starts, or you can pay it into 4 payments until you pay the whole entire, credit card back. And you continue to do that every single month. So basically, with the credit card, you are paying your expenses, your household expenses, and your debts all combined. And what's left is you're saving money for emergency funds, to save, and to invest. That's what would be less. This is just the estimate. This is just a strategy, guys. If you want to know more about it, subscribe to my website. See, you only need 3 credit cards. You only need one of these. And that's a mixture of your credit. By getting 3 credit cards and one of these, one a self lender or rent to, even your rent from your property, you know, that counts. That helps you increase your credit score, guys. Car loan, a house, a student loan, and so on, personal loan. By getting only one of these and 3 credit cards, that will start the process to increase your credit score to 650 to 700 in less than a year. I say like in 6 months, because I did it. So invest on the actual retirement number that you did earlier to build current and future wealth. Make sure you invest on something that can offer you a current cash flow and future retirement long-term protection for you and your family. This pertains to the money that you have left. So instead of putting all your money in the bank, invest on something that's going to give you more money back to you. You know, 100% to you towards your future retirement. So, watch and listen to David on what he has to say about the importance of credit utilization. Again, 4 simple steps to repay your credit.
Credit cards were created as a tool to make purchases when using cash wasn't practical or even possible. Imagine trying to pay for something over the phone using cash. Ideally, credit cards should be used to pay for things we would normally use cash to pay for. Then you pay the credit card bill in full every month. Unfortunately, today, credit cards are often used to finance our lifestyles, which keeps credit balances high, causing credit scores to stay low. Using credit cards as a tool to build your credit requires knowing how important your credit utilization is. Utilization means how much of your credit limit you're carrying as a balance. Let me give you an example. Let's say I have one credit card with a $1,000 credit limit. If I have a $200 balance on that credit card, my credit utilization is now 20%. I'm utilizing 20% of my total credit limit of $1,000. Pretty easy stuff. Everyone's credit score begins to drop once they reach about 30% utilization. For those who have negative accounts on their credit report, they can start losing points starting at 20% utilization. People who charge their credit cards up to 90 or 100% of their total credit limit and don't pay their card off in full every month can lose 50 to 100 points or more in a single month. It's important to keep this in mind, especially if you have low limit credit cards. Let me explain what I mean. Let's say I'm in the process of repairing my credit and I just got my first credit card with a credit limit of $300. I decide to take the family out for dinner and a movie, and I end up spending $270, which I put on my shiny new card. I now have a credit utilization rate of 90%. A 90% utilization on my $300 credit limit card is going to drop my score anywhere from 80 to 100 points or more. Now, I said I would teach you how to use credit cards like a pro. I would consider a pro to be anyone with an 800 credit score or higher. Here's some very important information directly from FICO, and this is why you're going to hear me talk to you about credit card utilization a lot during our time together in this course. People with 800 credit scores have an average credit card utilization rate of only 7%. So as an example, if they have a $1,000 credit limit on a credit card, they're only carrying a balance of $70. So what that means is, for the most part, they pay their credit cards off every single month. Let's compare that with people with 650 credit scores and below. They have an average credit card utilization rate of 100%. That means that their credit cards are constantly maxed out and they're not paying them off every month. Remember, in the very first video, the introduction video, I said this. But for many, they simply never learned how to manage their credit correctly. And because of that, their credit is managing them in a cycle of credit challenges that goes on for years and years. Overusage of credit cards is one of the biggest causes of never-ending credit troubles. Let me bring all this together and explain why this is extremely important for you to know. As a group, people with 800 credit scores are only 6% likely to pay a bill late. As a group, people with 650 credit scores and lower who use 100% of their available credit are 90% likely to pay bills late. Consider this is how you and I are being judged by those looking at our credit report. Are lenders worried about those who are only 6% likely to pay late? Or are they really worried about the people who are 90% likely to pay late? Here's the strategy I want you to use if you're reestablishing credit while repairing your credit. Until your scores reach the mid to high 700s, use your credit cards for purchases that you can for sure pay off every single month. The only thing I want you to do with your credit card is show responsible activity month over month. Adopt the same behaviors of people with 800 plus credit scores so that you can be rewarded like people with 800 plus credit scores.
So there you have it, guys. Adopt to that strategy, you know, which I told you guys earlier. Use your credit card on things like your cell phone bill, your let's say your cell phone bill, your cable bill, your light bill, your gas bill, the things from the households that keep the house, up and running. Use your credit card for that because you have to pay for that anyway. So use it with your credit card. Use your credit card to pay that. And then when you get paid on your job, then you pay it back. That will start increasing your credit score. That's what I do. I use my credit card to pay everything in my entire house, you know, and then I pay it off before the statement starts all over again. That way you start maintaining your credit score from the 700s to the 800s. So according to the company FICO, scores are used today by 90% of top lenders and banks to make lending decisions. There are two different scores. You got FICO score, you got Vantage score. Okay? Poor score is 300 to 579. Fair is 580 to 699. Exceptional is 800 to 850. Good is 670 to 739. Very good is 740 to 799. Okay? So you got 16%, 17%, 21%, 25%, 21%. 67% of Americans have a good FICO score or better. Now, the Vantage score is all the same thing. 781, 850, 300 to 499 is poor. Poor is 500 to 600. Fair is 601 to 660. Good is 661 to 780. So as you can see in the Vantage, in your Vantage score, uh, a little bit lower is good. Now on the FICO score, a little bit higher, it's very good. All right. So the numbers are different, different scores. That's why sometimes people they ask me when I start repaying their credit, why my score is different from the other ones. And what I tell them, the only time that they different is because it depends on the credit cards that you apply, the credit card companies that you apply, the creditors. Again, different lenders, different banks. There's some banks that deal with FICO. There's some banks that deal with Vantage. That's why your credit score is different. And the way to avoid that, I have a strategy for that, which on my financial literacy course and my credit repair, masterclass, that I charge, I show you a strategy on how to avoid that, how to get the same scores on all three credit reports with only one card, with one creditor, that reports to all three credit reports, not only one. And when you start doing that, you're gonna see that your credit score start increases a little bit faster, more faster, right? So the Vantage score model wasn't introduced until 2006. So the FICO score is the oldest. Vantage score is widely used across lenders types and across loan products. Now the FICO score, it's used, basically for everything because that's FICO. The FICO system was the one that, the system that was connected to the system of credit. How your credit increases. It's basically a formula. That's why it's called FICO. So basically, it's the same formula two different, Vantage scores. So two different formulas that do actually the same thing, you know. So the key is to, when you apply for a credit card, you know, to make sure that they report to all three of your credit reports. That way you don't have that issue. Why my credit score is lower than the other, and and so on and so on. So this is step one. Identity IQ. You know, you have to get identity IQ because it protects you from identity theft, and also you can get all these features. Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion reports, your credit reports, and scores can be refreshed every 30 days. You know, the three bureaus daily monitor alerts right through your cell phone, dark web monitoring right through your cell phone and your computer, $1 million identity theft insurance just in case somebody takes your social security, you protect it, and application monitoring. So it monitors everything of all these features for $24.99 a month. This is step one. Okay, so basically, as you can see the little hand, if you click here, it goes directly to the website where you can, you know, get started and become a member. So when you do that, that's the first step of the credit repair process. This is the company that you're gonna get your 3 credit repairs reports and your 3 credit scores, and you're gonna pay $24.99 every single month. Okay, then you're gonna connect that to Credit Versio, which I'm gonna explain that to you. I'm gonna explain that to you in the next video. So that's step one. Step two. Step two. You're gonna go to creditversio.com and you're gonna register there. You're gonna register there, and when you register there, you make sure you write down in a notebook your username and your password. Make sure that it's the same username and password that you signed up with step one, which is Identity IQ. So when you sign up here and you pay this, make sure it's the same username and passcode as Credit Versio, because they're gonna intertwine. They're gonna simultaneously connect. Okay? And you're gonna see via video that I'm gonna show you in a little while. So that's step two. So it connects. Now watch this video about how Credit Versio helps people repair their credit much faster than a credit repair company does. Same software that I use to help my clients repair their credit. Listen to it very carefully. If you have any questions at the end of the webinar, just write them down somewhere and then send them to me. And I will respond to you either by email or via the webinar. So let's get started with the video.
Having great credit is essential. Our bank, insurance company, landlord, Even employers check our credit. But what if our credit score isn't what it should be? Are we really stuck with mistakes and unfair accounts on our credit report for 7 years? Hi, I'm David from Creditversio. In this short video, I'll demonstrate the most advanced credit repair software ever created. And we didn't build it for credit repair companies. We built it for you. Now, fixing your own credit is fast, easy, and a fraction of the cost of paying a credit repair company while delivering the same, if not better, results. In fact, in Creditversio's first year, 100,000 people created an account to fix their own credit. Let me show you why they did that. The Fair Credit Reporting Act demands the credit bureaus delete any account from your credit report that has errors or can't be verified. Over 80% of credit reports have at least one account with an error that can drop credit scores, and most people don't even know they're there. While the credit bureaus are happy to delete these accounts for you, the problem is you have to find them. But how do you do that? What do these errors look like? And how do you remove them? Creditversio solved this problem by doing something that's been done before. Without creating an inquiry, Creditversio automatically imports all 3 credit bureaus and scores, finds every negative account, creates a strategy to remove these accounts, and then does all the hard work for you. Creating a Creditversio account and linking a credit report is simple. Let's start at the dashboard. The layout is easy to understand. Credit scores from all 3 bureaus are at the top. Here's the dispute plan that's going to show me exactly what to do. More on that in a second. Below is the credit items section, where Creditversio separated all the positive accounts from the negative accounts. I could now dispute inquiries, late payments, charge-offs, collections, foreclosure, repossessions, student loans, even bankruptcy. Creditversio analyzed every account and knows how to dispute them. Let's go back up to the dispute plan and I'll show you how easy this is. Starting with TransUnion, click Create Dispute Letter. By default, Creditversio presents all of my negative accounts. To see what's negative about each account, click the plus button. The negative information is in red. Here's a credit card with late payments. And here's a charge-off account. Let's take a closer look. Below each account is the dispute strategy called the
Pay attention, guys.
Creditversio found this charge-off account reporting twice. It's a duplicate. It then wrote the dispute explaining the error and why the account should be deleted. It even included all the details of both accounts and wrote the dispute in the format the bureaus prefer. It might look subtle, but the suggested reason is a breakthrough in artificial intelligence. When we look at a credit report, we see this: a brief snapshot of our creditors, balances, dates, payment history, and a few other details. This is what Creditversio sees: a complete digital file that contains even more information. The details of every account are here, and buried in thousands of lines of code is the formula for deleting it. This is how Creditversio can find 20 different kinds of errors exposing incorrect, unverifiable, and unfair accounts. But even if there's not an error, the right dispute strategy could expose a problem with an account, causing it to be deleted. When it comes to strategic disputes, Creditversio has no equal. Tens of thousands of people using Creditversio have created millions of disputes. Creditversio remembers every single one of them and ranks each dispute reason in order of success. The most effective dispute becomes the suggested reason. All I have to do is select which accounts I want to dispute. I can dispute 1 account or 100 accounts. Creditversio tracks every single one of them. I'll click Next. By default, Creditversio adds the suggested reason, but I have the option of choosing another reason from the drop-down menu if I think it's a better fit. I can even write a custom dispute reason if I want. I have full control over the dispute process. It took me seconds to select the dispute reasons for my accounts. Click Finish. My dispute letter has been emailed to me so I can print and mail it. The laws that give us the right to dispute and remove accounts from our credit report were written in the 1970s with paper disputes in mind. Online disputes are not treated the same way as paper disputes, and that can make them far less effective. From here, I would go on to create my dispute letters for Experian and Equifax. But let's go back to the homepage. The dispute process is timed by federal law, and the dispute plan lets me know when I need to mail my letter and when Credit Versio will bring in my new credit report to provide the results. I'll click Mark Letter as Sent, and I'm done. It's that easy. Credit Versio did all of the hard work for me and is now going to track my disputes. Let's fast forward to next month and see the results. Credit Versio is the first and only DIY software that can import my new 3-bureau credit report and compare it to the credit report from last month. Analyzing thousands of data points, the AI finds every change that took place, including the accounts that were repaired and deleted from each bureau. Just as importantly, it lets me know what accounts were not deleted so they can be disputed again. Here are my new credit scores, along with an arrow showing me how much they've gone up. Scrolling down to credit items, here's a tally of the accounts that were repaired and deleted. Below are the negative accounts that survived the first dispute and are prepared to be disputed again. Using what it's learned from millions of disputes, Credit Versio's AI thinks strategically. Dispute, analyze the results, then change dispute strategies for the highest probability of success. With the best of intentions, many people who try to fix their own credit or hire a credit repair company have limited success. That's because people, even credit experts, do not have the ability to process the incredible amount of data on a credit report. Software has now solved that problem. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, strategic disputes. Credit Versio is a credit repair expert, so you don't have to be. So what does it cost? The most popular credit repair companies charge about $89 to $129 a month to dispute only 2 or 3 accounts a month. Compare that to Credit Versio, where the only cost is a compatible 3-bureau credit report, and they're as little as $19.95 per month. Because Credit Versio supports unlimited disputes, not only is it more effective, it's faster, and the total cost is much less. No contract, no hidden fees, cancel anytime online. Thank you for watching, and I hope you're inspired to take control of your own credit repair. For more information or to contact us directly, please visit creditversio.com.
So there you have it, guys. That's what Credit Versio does. The software is free, just like the video said. You know, you get the software for free. All you have to do is go to creditversio.com, put your name, email, password, and you get the software for free. Then you go to step 1 is you go get the identity IQ first. Make sure you put your email and password, and then you go to Credit Versio. Put the same email and password that you register on the identity IQ. That way, your credit reports and credit score link to Credit Versio, just like the video said. Okay, and for $19.95 or $24.99, you can start the process to repair your credit for free. That's if you have time. Now, if you're a hard worker and you're working hard and you don't have time to repay your credit, that's where I come in, my organization, ICR Financial Fitness. You know, we help you repay your credit, for a very affordable, either monthly fee or one-time yearly fee, which I'm going to explain that to you guys on the next webinar, when I get to the section of my credit repair services and my financial services. Right now, basically, I'm focusing on the 4 steps to start the process to repair, rebuild, and increase your credit score 100 points or more in less than a year. All right. So this is kickoff. Kickoff is step 3. Again, if you don't have the whole entire course with the QR code that I put out there on the first webinar, first part of my webinar, you won't be able to get to the kickoff site. Right? The only way is to subscribe to my website. That way I can send you the information. All right. I can send you my credit repair guide that's going to show you all these 4 steps with the links, and how to get started and everything. Okay. Then you got step number 4. Step number 4 is the credit utilization calculator. Again, that's another link. You click here, it goes to the website where you could get the credit utilization calculator, which is 100% free. You don't have to pay for it or nothing. Okay. So those are the 4 steps, guys. Those are the 4 steps that you need to start the process to rebuild, repair, and increase your credit score 100 points or more. Let's continue. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the dark side. Black Rose.
So there you have it, guys. The next part of my webinar is gonna be about 10 actual investments that you can do right now, at the comfort of your home, that you can do right now to start investing your little money to make more money for your future retirement. And it's way better than a 401k. All right. Better and safer than a 401k. Guaranteed future cash flow money. Okay. On these 10 investments that I'm going to be explaining to you guys on part 4 of my webinar, which the title is 10 investments for 2023 and beyond. Stay tuned. Register to my website. Subscribe to my website. Subscribe to my YouTube page. Share this webinar with everybody that you know. Soon is going to be on my live 24/7 stream TV, live TV educational platform, which I'm working on, is on better mode now. So if you want to know more about that, subscribe to my website and I can send you more information about that. But anyway, thank you all that tuned in. I'll see you guys next week for part 4 of my debt freedom credit boost webinar here in the Waterbury, Connecticut area and throughout all Connecticut. Have a great day. Again, support the stream. If you want to support the stream, all you have to do is scan the QR code that you see on the screen. You get my credit repair book. It's in Amazon. You go there, go straight to Amazon, and you can get the book. Just by getting the book, you're supporting my live streams. That way I could put out some more important financial education live stream, master classes that I'm gonna be putting out there soon, and I don't want you guys to miss it. So now, if you have any questions, the floor is open. Let's get some music. As soon as the timer
Welcome to
ends,
the dark side.
that will be the end of the questions. So put out your questions. I'll be waiting.
Black Rose. Black Rose. Black Rose.
You guys still got time for the questions. Couple of minutes. Keep on coming. Keep on coming with your questions, guys. All right.
Well, welcome to the dark side. Black Rose.
So there you have it, guys. That's my time. So the next webinar is going to be part 4 of my debt freedom webinar. Again, I broke it down into different parts because it's a long webinar and I don't want to have people get bored and fall asleep and things like that. Hopefully, you enjoy what you seen. You wrote down some important strategies and tips and tricks on how to repay your credit, rebuild your credit, and learn the 4 steps to start the process to repair, rebuild, increase your credit score 100 points or more. Now, next week, I'm going to start webinar part number 4, which is going to be more about 10 different investments that you need to do right now that are very affordable. Not going to make a dent on your bank account. It actually is going to help you, make your money work for your money. Now you work that hard for your money. And also it's going to help you on converting your debts into wealth and building a retirement, protection for you, your family. All right. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Retirement investments strategies. Webinar part 4. Stay tuned, guys. Thank you all for those who tuned in today to my credit repair workshop. Again, this is just a little bit of the process to repay you. I have a course that's very affordable that, you're going to be amazed of how much it's going to cost. And you can take this whole entire course on your cell phone or on your tablet, your laptop, your computer, right on the comfort of your home. But you're not alone. I walk you through the whole entire course. All right? At a very affordable fee. I'm telling you, at the end, before the course ends, you're gonna learn how to repair, rebuild, and boost up that credit score 100 points or more. And so before you end up at the end of the course, before the end of the course, you're gonna start increasing your credit score. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. All right, guys, time for me to go. For those who missed this webinar, this is gonna be on my live 24/7, learn by doing platform, financial literacy learn by doing platform. Again, subscribe to my website and you get all the details where to go. You have a great day.